Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we're going to meditate a few minutes. After the meditation there are a Dhamma talk going to give Sai Maharjan. He's on the way right now. So meanwhile I will invite Chandasara to lead the meditation.
Good morning to everybody. Now let's practice meditation. First, we cultivate calmness through breathing meditation, and then we continue in the second stage. We do loving kindness meditation. Let's now sit in a comfortable position and comfortable posture. Feel comfortable, and then like the city gatekeeper is aware of the individuals who are coming to the city, passing the gate, and who are also the individuals who are leaving the city from the city gate, and after clearing the checking, the gatekeeper does not follow where the individual is heading, and even when the individual, when he's coming into the city, after checking the person, the gatekeeper does not follow that person where he's heading. Likewise, we do breathing meditation. We focus on our breathing in front of our nostrils or around the nostrils. We are aware of our breathe in and out, breathe in and breathe out. Just focus on breathe in and out for a few moments. Let's breathe in and out again and again until I ask you to switch to loving kindness meditation. Breathe in and out, breathe in and out. Let's continue. Don't trust your breathing in and out. Just let it happen as they naturally occur, but just be aware when the breathing, when we breathe in and out. Breathe in and out gently, naturally, and focus our attention on or around the nostrils. we are aware that we are breathing in and breathing out. Observe our inhalation and exhalation, focusing our attention on or around the nostrils. Take a longer breath in and exhale to relax our muscles. And then gently breathe in and out, observing as the wind passes around our nostrils. Now let's switch from breathing meditation to loving kindness meditation. We cultivate loving kindness meditation in this way. May all the living beings, including me, be physically well. May all the living beings, including me, be free from incoming disturbances. May all the living beings, including me, be mentally well. Let's continue our loving kindness meditation with cultivating in this way until we hear the bell sound. Shall I repeat once more? May all the living beings, including me, be physically well. May all the living beings, including me, be free from incoming disturbances. May all the living beings, including me, be mentally well. Let's continue cultivating loving kindness meditation, loving kindness thoughts until we hear the bell sound.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Chandasara, leading the meditation. Right now, time for the Dhamma talk. Our speaker today, Sai Maharjan, is here right now. Sai, you can start your talk right now.
Thank you, Bante. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Saccang bhanena kujjhaya dajja appampi yachito. So imang lokang pabhasiti abhamutto vachandima. Venerable sirs, dear Dhamma friends, I apologize for a couple minutes delay. I didn't expect traffic, but there was little traffic on my drive here. I'm always happy to be here. Thank you for inviting, and it's always nice to see Dhamma friends. Right? We are all aspired to learn about the Buddha's teaching, and I hope you also apply that in your life to make your life meaningful, to make your life valuable and easier to deal with everyday challenges. And I see you have a book there. What's your name again? Ryan. The Gatha I just mentioned is from that book. Yeah, it's a Dhammapada, right? And like meaningful sayings. And Buddha is very eloquent speaker. He taught Dhamma so people can remember, apply, and use. The Gatha I mentioned is Saccang Bhane, practice telling the truth. And akujjaya, don't get mad, right? Try to tame your anger, which is human nature. We get emotions, but getting angry is less harmful than reacting upon anger. So control that, and then dajja appampi yachito, practice giving when someone is in need. And people, those who practice these three principles, they will shine like the moon, free from the clouds, so to speak, in that meaning. That's not what I wanted to. I want to talk about the first one, telling the truth, which is not always easy, right? It's not an easy task. And one of my favorite teachings of the Buddha is that we chant every day, Karaniya Metta Sutta. The sutta that gives you two sets of instruction or two sets of advice. One set is Karaniya Matta Kusalena Yantang Santang Padang Abhisameccha. These are the qualities that one should cultivate, one who is aspiring to become enlightened. So that's what Karaniya means. You must have these qualities. There are actually about 14 qualities in the sutta. And the second set of the instruction in that sutta is how to practice loving kindness. Like Bhante Chandasara did, when you practice loving kindness, yes, you look on yourself and tell yourself, may I be free from suffering, may I be free from anger and hatred, so on. And there's a beautiful analogy in it. What's the line? I'm trying to remember. It's blocking me. The meaning is that as if you have only child, and think of how much love you would have to that child, that compassion, that love. You should have the same love toward and kindness toward others. So that's another set of instruction in Karaniya Sutta. We can talk about that sutta some other day. But the one quality I really wanted to discuss today was in that 14 qualities one should cultivate. It starts with sakko ujucha su ujucha, be a capable person, be an honest person, straightforward person, suachocha, santussakocha, be a content person. And the quality I wanted to talk is nipakocha. Nipaka, the Pali term nipaka means the one who has discriminative knowledge, one who is able to tell the right from wrong, good from bad, danger from safety. So that knowledge takes a little deeper understanding about world, about logic, about reasoning, about emotions. And in Buddhism, we talk about one precept. The second precept is musawada. So you take a precept that says, do not lie, right? And some people, and I can tell you my story, I teach. So when I tell students, sometime, for example, a student was caught plagiarizing in a paper. And I had a meeting with the student and I told, it's true what happened, right? The student plagiarized, I had the evidence and there was a submission. And I showed the student, you copied this work from someone else's. You're supposed to cite, you're supposed to paraphrase, you're supposed to make it your own work, not copy paste from someone else's. That's the truth, that happened, right? And telling this could be beneficial to student. But do you think student likes it? You can imagine, right? They're not going to like it. They will find a way to retaliate or try to see like, oh, you never gave clear instruction, so on. So it's not pleasant or welcoming. So let's think of those 5. So I want you to memorize, okay? Because when you talk, these 5 things that Buddha explained so well in one of the suttas, I'll give you the reference. It's whether it happened and it is true and it is beneficial. And you can think of the flip side. It didn't happen, it was not true, or it was not beneficial. But sometimes people might like that, right? It's pleasing and it's also welcoming. So I'll give you the context where it came from. Because when you think of telling the truth, it's very important skill is, do you have that discriminative knowledge? Can you tell the truth when it is timely, not all the time? And that's where this sutta is. In Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length discourses, there is a beautiful, beautiful story on a prince, sort of they call Kumara, means an unmarried guy or a recently married person. His name was Abhaya, which means in Pali, fearless. He was, let's say in the current time, he was a car mechanic. He was an expert in building and knowing all the parts and gimmicks of car. So he used to build cart. And he used to be, at least in the beginning of the sutta, have you heard of Nigantha? There was another contemporary Buddha's time teacher. He was not Buddha's student, but he was actually senior to the Buddha. He was around even before the Buddha. And he was well known because he practiced extreme. So if you think of ahingsawadi, the non-violent practice, some of the principle you may have heard from Mahatma Gandhi. So the non-violent approach, yes, there is some Buddhist influence, but there's another religious group they call Nigantha or Jainism. So that's the religion. Jainism, they take the non-violence to extreme level, to the point that they don't even wear clothes, because even that physical contact with the clothes can give you some kind of sensual pleasure. So you try to stay away from it. Don't drink water, because there are germs in water that you don't want to drink water without filtering. So that's more extreme part. That's a group of people, and Abhay was student of Nigantha. And this is the time when Buddha reprimanded his own brother-in-law, if you know the name, Devadatta, right? He attempted murdering Buddha 3 times. And he kept doing the same thing again and again. Buddha reprimanded. Buddha called him out. Buddha called him stupid. Buddha called him ignorant, right? Buddha made those terms very public. And for opponents like Nigantha, it was a perfect opportunity to strike back. Oh, Buddha used to say you must speak nice and gentle. Here he goes. He was harsh at Nigantha. So they used that opportunity to call the Buddha out and send Abhaya, okay, you go and argue with the Buddha. Ask him whether he preaches gentle and kind words. If he says yes, now you can call him out. He lied. Why? Because he used harsh word to Devadatta. If he says no, then you still caught him, because he again lied, because he said he doesn't tell to engage in kind word, but all the teachings are the other way around. So this is like a two-ended sword. You can't escape. This is the argument Abhay was told, and he went to the Buddha, and he was supposed to argue and defeat the Buddha. That's the time. I think it's still happening, right? There's a presidential debate. If you think of, how much it changed after Biden and Trump debate. Debate is powerful. It kind of defeats the other party, and that was very ancient practice. Even the Buddha's time, the debate was huge. It happens in public settings, and when you debate, you lose your credibility, and you become a disciple, or you give up whatever you're practicing, sort of what happened recently. So Abhay went to the Buddha. He was supposed to debate with the Buddha, and he proposed that. He asked the question, do you teach practice, do you tell people to practice gentle and kind word? And Buddha did not say what he was expecting. Yes or no was his expectation. And Buddha said, well, it depends on situation. So Abhay had not prepared for that part of the response. And he, in his mind, oh, Nigantha is screwed, because he only prepared me to either answer to yes or no questions, but Buddha said it depends. And instead of answering further, and at the time, Abhay was carrying a little baby, an infant. And Buddha asked this young man, do you love this child that you're holding? Yes, this is my son. I love this child very much. And, they play with toys. What happens if this child is playing with a pebble or a stick and puts in his mouth, and it's getting deeper in his throat? What do? At that point, I will immediately put my finger inside the child's mouth and take it out. Even the child is bleeding, even the child is screaming out of pain, I will still stick my finger through the mouth and reach the object and take it out. And I do that because I love this child so much. I don't want my child to die or choke. And Buddha used that situation to explain, so you do know what people do out of love and compassion. You're bleeding, you're hurting the child. It's actually, you're trying to protect the child. And Buddha does the same thing with the people, those who needed to be reprimanded, needed to be said. And that's what Buddha explained. There are times that Buddha would respond to a situation, telling the truth part. That's why the discriminative knowledge is so powerful. Now think of when something happens, that's where the Buddha used Bhuta, Tacha, Atta Sanghita. Those are the three words in Pali you find. Bhuta is something that happened, something that's factual. It did happen, whether it is today or in the past or in the future. Mostly what happened, Bhuta. And Tacha is, it's true. It's based on actual incidents, right? And the third one is, it's meaningful. It's beneficial to know. But there are times people don't like it. People is appiya amanapa, that it is not welcoming, it is not pleasant to hear. Just like the situation I shared about my student. You caught plagiarizing, or you caught lying, you caught doing something wrong. There are times that telling them right away may not be the best opportunity. And that's where Buddha said, when it is something happened, truthful and beneficial, but it is unwelcomed and it's not pleasant, Buddha would know the time to say those words. And I want you to take that into your mind, because when you practice telling the truth, it's a situation, right? You need to read the room as you speak. You need to read what is the proper time to say it. Do you want to say it something that's very serious, or do you write a message, write an email, especially dealing with your maybe employees, maybe with like me, I'm dealing with my students. So we need to definitely read the situation and tell the truth. Again, it should be happened. That's how you define what is true. It happened, and it is actual thing based on the incidents, and it's beneficial. That's how you know it is true. It doesn't matter whether it's pleasant or not. You know the time. And if it is not true, now on those three, truth, happened, and beneficial. If one of them is negative, which means either it is not true, but it happened, but it is beneficial, even it is pleasant and welcoming, you never speak that. That's how you know it's not true. Because the definition of truth has those three parts. And Buddha said that clearly. When it is not true, but it happened, and it's beneficial sometime for people to know, it's also welcoming and pleasing, then Buddha would not speak those words. And if it is not happen, not true, it's not beneficial, but people like to hear those things, people are welcome to those ideas, then Buddha would never speak those words either. And the other flip side is, it is true, beneficial, and happened, then Buddha would still say that in a timely manner. So the timely part, it's easy to remember, it seems too many, but when we speak about what happened, it's very important to think, did it happen? Did it really happen in a situation? And I think of, like, I know, in real life application, it might be in relationship. In relationship, you might find something that is true, that is beneficial to tell, but you're not sure whether it happened or not. And it could be welcoming, it could be pleasant to know, but you might need to gaze a little bit. And that's where this Nipaka skills comes very handy. It's a very important skill that you read the situation, you know the situation. And Buddha sometime let the time take place. And it almost sounds like when we, in my therapy practice, we talk about, people are ready to change. Sometimes it takes certain stages. You might have heard of like the different stages of change. Some people are in pre-contemplation. They are not even thinking about changing. For example, those who use substance or engage in self-harming behavior, right? Alcohol, nicotine, smoking, or drugs. They may never think about, I need to change, because to them that state of life is like, this is it, this is me. And they identify with it. That's another big problem. People always identify with behavior. They fuse themselves with the problem behavior and never see the outside. This happened when I was working in jail with a lot of inmates. They have almost 98% of those inmates have some kind of drug issues from very early childhood. And when I talk about drugs, they love it. They love even talking about it. But they would always associate themselves with one of the drugs. And you'd be surprised, they have a small cliques based on what kind of drugs they used. They created that identity. And they always say, like, they go out, sometime I have seen, they get released, sometime early, and within a couple of months, I was there for about 3 years, I would see them coming back again. And they're like, hey, Mr. Sai, like, you're back again, you just took left. So they go back to the same behavior, and they come back. And this pattern continues. Some of people have 18 times of incarceration history, 18 times in age of 40. They would keep coming back again and again, because they fuse themselves with problems so much. That's what happens when you, like in Buddhism, we talk about atta, right? Soul or self. Now that to me that's the soul, that's the problem. You identify with something that is changing, which is our behavior, which is our identity. It should be evolving. So when you fuse with the problem, it's hard to change. It's hard to see the other side. And I was able to share, when I work with inmates, I used to tell them, like, tell me was there a time in your life before, maybe very young, before you were introduced or using drugs? So they would say, yes, there was, like when I was 10 or 9 or 8. I never used it. I never liked it. I, in fact, hated it, because a lot of my family members would go to use drug, and I didn't like it. So I tell them, like, so there was a time you were free from these things, and you became habituated to it. You got used to it. Now you think that's it, that's you. So think of that time. So change takes time. Change sometimes takes little process, and that's like pre-contemplation, not even thinking about changing. And some people are thinking but doesn't know how to do. That's the contemplation stage. And some people prepare, they do, and of course some people maintain and some people relapse. So that change is very meaningful, and that's why we try to see, learning Buddhism, knowing something meaningful in Buddhism should change you, should change who you are, who your identity. If you don't believe in that, then we're in the wrong path. We are choosing the wrong direction, because Buddha is all about change. You may have heard so many stories. I can tell you all day, a lot of example stories that people used to be a certain way and they changed. There was another story, if you are interested, the neighboring sutta in that same sutta, I just happened to read again, because it's all, I really love reading Buddha's teaching. Right before that sutta, there was another sutta called Kukurawattiga. That means a person who has a ritual, who follows the ritual of dogs. So it's a long story. I'll tell you what happened. This guy who lived a whole life as a dog. And you may think like, oh, that's weird. Like, we have people like that, isms. We may not have like a people who follow like a dog lifestyle. If you think of any isms who develop certain strong beliefs, not necessarily animal, but and I don't know, people might not like me saying this, but like even sometimes the type of food you eat, you know, type of clothes you wear, or type of identity you develop, that becomes the ego. That feeds our ego, and that's the problem. So this guy, the two guys, one was, I think, Punna, the other one is Senaka. Sela, I think, Sela and Punna. These are two guys. One of them were practicing living the entire life as a dog. The other one was living entire life as an ox. And there were 5 famous rituals in Buddha's time. So, Gauta, Kukuruta, it will come to me. There are the 3 of them. It's very extreme practice. You're human, but you live like a dog. And if you know dog behavior, replace that dog with an actual human being. Not eating with your hands, sleeping as a dog, you know, all the rituals. With a good intention. Unfortunately, wrong view. Right? The intention is, I want to be a god at some point or at the end of my life, but the view is wrong. Practicing dog's life will lead to not a heaven, because it's a wrong practice. You're not leading your life with the full potential. So these guys, they were criticizing each other. That's another irony, right? A guy who follows as a dog's life is criticizing the ox and vice versa. And they met the Buddha and they wanted to ask about each other, not themselves. You know, my friend here, Sena, I think Senaka, it should be Senaka. So Senaka, he follows his life like a dog. And I wonder what happens to him after he dies. And Buddha said, don't bother, don't ask me, because I don't want to tell you. If I tell you, it's going to hurt you really bad. They insisted. And same thing was done by Punna, who also practiced a life like an ox, who insisted to know about the other guy. So they wanted to know, what is the future? Well, after we die, what happens to us? They insisted. Buddha said, don't ask, don't bother. They wanted to know. Why? Because I'm assuming each one wanted to criticize each other, right? Oh, your practice is wrong, and vice versa. So they insisted. Buddha gave them the story. Okay, let me tell you. When you live a life like a dog, you start to develop a habit of dogs, right? You train your mind to think like dog. You train your body to move like dog. And day and night, you are constantly thinking and behaving and acting as a dog, because now your brain is so used to acting as a dog. The most likely you to become is, after you die, not in heaven, but a dog. That would be one possibility. But you have intention to be born in heaven. That's a wrong view. In Pali we call michaditti. Now wrong view has its own consequences. The one consequence is you already have a misunderstanding or wrong view about your life that would lead to hell. That would lead to lower life, more painful life. So 2 possibilities. Either you become a dog, which is also a form of not very good life. In Pali we call tirachana is one type of hell. So there are 4. Naraka, Apaya, Asura, and tirachana. So those are 4 types of hells we talk in Buddhism. When you say hell, it's a lower life, where in compared to humans, the life in those states are difficult. And people, I had some discussion with pet lovers. I love pets, but sometimes they argue like, how could you say that that's a hell? Well, you're talking about your Tommy or your Shady or Molly. How about the rest of the dogs? Right? Did you go around the world and see how many animals are treated? And in fact, even the Tommy is not treated as they liked. I don't think they want to be on a leash and inside a box. That's you wanted them to be like that. And that's under your control. So I don't think they're getting any good life. You may keep them longer because you wish to live them longer. Anyway, I'll get out of that topic. But it's a form of hell. So that's the state. And the other state is, because of your wrong view, you're more than likely to have a not very good life. And Buddha said this to them They both heard about each other, and same thing was true about Punya, who practiced the life of ox. And they were sad. They started crying. They started weeping, like, oh my goodness, we spent entire life thinking we are doing the right practice. What do we do now? What can we do to save ourselves? Well, then Buddha gave a very nice explanation. When we engage in, there are 4 types of actions that you do. The one is that leads to darkness to darkness. You engage in dark activities, leads to darker consequences. Brightness to brightness, and sometimes mixed up both. But there's the 4th one, which is unique. You try to engage in action that actually destroys actions and consequences. And that's what I teach. So that Buddha gave that explanation. They both got impressed, and they wanted to become Buddha's disciples. And Buddha said, well, you have spent so many years of your life living like a dog and ox. So if you want to change your life, and if you want to live in a different way, there is a probation period for 4 months. And if monks observe you for 4 months and they approve you, you have changed your habit, you have changed your mind, you change your behavior, they will approve you to become monks. And they both were impressed that they had opportunity, said like, not 4 months, we will spend 4 years refining ourselves so we can become Buddha's disciple. Just to give you an example, people may spend entire life in certain practices, identify with certain practices, develop ego in that practices, but that's not you. It doesn't need to be you, because change is always possible. And if you don't believe in change, you shouldn't believe in Buddha either, because Buddha is all about change. That's one story. I can go on and on about other examples where people had a certain lifestyle. The Angulimala, right, who was very innocent guy, became a murderer, then became a monk, enlightened monk, then became the model, the blessing person for 3,000 years. Up until now, we chant Angulimala Sutta when somebody is pregnant because of his compassion. Who used to be a murderer, who used to be a very innocent and kind student. So the evolution of life in one very lifespan is possible. And you see a lot of those stories. And I want you to be inspired. I want you to be inspired by those stories to not develop that ego that feeds you, that makes you bigger, and that makes you really hard to change. And that's where, this, all the examples I shared, and the knowledge of the contextualizing, knowing the context, learning Buddhism is to deepen, because Buddhism is brighter in Pali. Vivato virochati. The Buddhism shines as you unveil, as you uncover, as you keep no secret in it. And you should question, and as I always wish that the more you know the Dhamma, your Dhamma knowledge should grow. At the same time, your life should be better. It should be better than yesterday. It should be easier than yesterday. It should be lighter than yesterday. It should be brighter than yesterday. Otherwise, we are not in the right path. We need to change the path. So I wish you all good weekend, and thank you for attending to that little Dhamma that's from Abhay Rajakumar Sutta. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai. If you have any question, comment, you can ask right now.
Yes, Shraddha.
Thank you again for your wonderful talk. And you said, somebody brought up an appropriate time to do it. And
Yes.
also to check your own ego of why you're doing it.
Yes.
The word that we want to use for teaching is sometimes the time is right.
Yes.
And then we include Buddha in his teaching. He could sometimes illustrates his story.
Yes.
Yes, is it find a way to think of it.
Yes.
I know too many people who tell the truth, tyrannic, and that doesn't work. But I'm so glad you mentioned
Thank you, Shraddha. Yes. And it's also a way to respect people's autonomy.
Exactly.
All right, let them experience. And this, I am full of stories. There's another situation, a monk who became monk and left the monastic life and became monk and became layperson for 7 times. 7 times back and forth. He keeps changing his mind. Like, I can't do it. Goes back to the lay life, start a family. After a few days, like, oh man, this sucks. So goes back to temple, became monk. Okay, it's hard, too solitary. Go back to temple. He did 7 times, but they didn't stop him. On the 7th time, he realized, okay, this is too much. I need to stop. I need to choose a side. And Buddha said, like, okay, now you're ready. So that's like respecting autonomy, respecting, letting people, because a lot of the religion try to tell the teachers, and we call Buddha the teacher, not the God, not the savior, right? He cannot control anyone's karma. So in that sense, it makes sense to let people have that experience to evolve. And in that like a uncertainty, that iffiness, let them have that time and hold off on our supervision. And there's a really interesting concept, you can look it up, called curse of knowledge. When you know something, it's really hard to be unknown about the fact that you know. And when you are in curse of knowledge, you don't feel it, how it feels to be unknown or being that. Mostly parents, right? You're trying to raise a teenager, you're trying to raise a child, like, I know it hurts, don't touch it. Like, let them have, I didn't mean like let them hurt themselves, but there are times that it takes some experience to realize that, okay, this is where I stop. Right? Humans are really good at learning quicker, so sometimes it's very important, let people have that experience, know the time. I think that's a huge part. My teacher, Kodogura Nayak Bante, Kodogura Dhamma Bante, has passed away. He was an excellent example. I'm not going to tell you what he told me. I had to be advised on a very critical topic. He took 3.5 years to tell me that. He knew it 3.5 years beforehand. All that 3.5 years, I thought he didn't know. I was sitting there writing his book. He would say, he loves writing. So I'm the scripter. So I transcribe his narratives. And he checked my palm and we talked about something. And I brought up, I can't share what he said, but I shared what I had wanted to tell him, like, oh, that's why it didn't happen. Oh, I knew about that some time ago. 3.5 years. He did not even give me a hint that he knew I did that mistake. He never treated me differently. He never said. He never made me feel like he knows, but the right time. And that was powerful. That was so powerful, like I still remember today. So timing is a good skill to have, and it's an important, necessary skill to become enlightened. Yes, sir. And your name?
My name's Ananda.
Ananda. Yes, Ananda.
I wanted to ask, for people that have been identifying with some kind of harmful thing like drugs or dogs or ox for a long time, what is a kind of a good replacement for identity? Because a lot of people do not understand that Buddhists do not identify with the 5 aggregates or anything like that. So for people that don't understand Buddhism, what do you think is a helpful alternative to identify, if there is one?
There is actually, for that, if you can look into Kalama Sutta, it's a very nice, meaningful teaching. And the later part of the sutta, it tells you don't need to believe in Buddha. You don't need to have confidence, or we call shraddha or faith in Buddha, Dhamma or Sangha. Think of your own action, who you are, right? I have worked with a lot of people with addiction, and sometimes they might need to think, how does that action lead? What does that action lead to in this very life? And a lot of people don't believe or don't know there is a life after, which is fine. We don't need to. You don't need to believe in one. But in this life itself, you can see, if I keep using drugs, I don't think there are people who identify as animals nowadays, but there are definitely some rituals is very harmful. I know it's a sensitive topic, and I teach that, is food addiction. Like people who have problem with food, or food, this like a food-related disorder, right? Anorexia and bulimia. Those disorders, people identify with certain look, right? They identify with very skinny feature, skinny body. And you're in LA, so just go walk around and you will see that a lot of it's harmful to their own health. And I know when people have this food disorder, eating disorder, you're destroying your teeth. Why? Because when you purge, you throw up your food, you're releasing a lot of toxic gas from your belly. It destroys your gum, it destroys your teeth, it destroys your look. And same thing with drugs. I can tell you about every drug because I teach a class on drugs. So every drug has so many harmful consequences to themselves. And when you think of like what happens to my life if I continue this habit, and thinking of your own action and the consequences, and very selfishly, what happens to myself, my life, that itself should be a reminder. And you can't do that when they are high. They're not going to listen. But people come to realization when they have, most of the time we try to tell, find a value in your life. What do you value the most? What would you spare everything but one thing in your life? And use that as a power. It could be anything. It could be parents, it could be children, it could be job, it could be career, education, and sometimes it could be just like having not to deal with the repeating addiction. So finding something that you value the most, use that as a power to change. And I hear this news on smoking people. You only need to have one successful attempt, right? If you want to get out of that pattern. And that could be. So find a value, find a meaning that really you hold close to your heart. Use that as a power to change. Because they know the most. And people, those who have addiction or these problems, they know the most the harmfulness of it. And they suffer every day. I've seen it. And they know it's hard. And if you have option, why can't we use it? I don't know. That could be, and definitely use the professional help. Do not discount that part. People with those, addiction or eating disorder, any kind of strong problem, they should definitely seek professional help. And also people, those who are in spirituality, they can benefit from spiritual practice as well. Yes. Thank you for the question, Ananda. Any other questions or thoughts?
I think there are no questions and no any comment also. So they understand everything size cheating.
I think the other way around. Thank you, Bante.
Anyway, thank you, Sai. Again, it's wonderful Dhamma talk. And we will chant page 4 and page 10. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddham
Saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Huge impassions are inexhaustible. Vow to them all. Dhamma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering one suffering free, and feel strong fearlessly. May the grieving shadow of grief and the sick find help freely. Thank you for everybody again. Thank you, Sai. Couple of announcements. Next Sunday, which is 18 of this month, we're going to do the Ulambani service. Please come and join. We have, I invite almost 11 or 12 monks coming to here. We're going to give a dana. We have some kind of chanting, puja, so many things going. Please come and join. We have so many food, Thai, Vietnamese, Sri Lankan, veggie, non-veggie, everything. So please come and join. That's the number one announcement. And second announcement, the second Sunday, 9:30 to 10:30, we're going to do the mini retreat, which is Subodha is going to lead that one. Not this month, beginning with next month, okay? Second Sunday and third Sunday both. There's 2 Sundays going to be a 1 hour meditation. If you are interested, you can come and join. I think that's it right now, the announcement. Please come and join next Sunday for the Ulambani service. I don't know still the last Sunday who's going to talk. I will decide later about that. So we'll announce everything in our web page. That's it, all the announcement. Thank you again being with us. And by the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you all be well and happy. And sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. One more thing. You did not see the Nam today. So he's just home. He called me this morning. He's a little bit sickness. I mean, not big one, just like a cold or something like. He doesn't want to come. He want to stay home. It is his birthday a few days ago. Actually, I was planning. I buy the cake. I don't want to cut without him. Even I mentioned to him, yes, we have cake, can you come? No, Bante, I want to take a rest. Anyway, we will keep that cake for the next week. He's coming definitely next week. And after the service, we can cut, we can wish him also. Okay, thank you again. That's the announcement today. And hope to see you next Sunday around same time. Thank you again. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you all be well and happy. I think we have tea and cookies. So please enjoy tea and cookies and have a pleasant day for everybody.